Welcome in, everybody, to Lunch with the Coach. Hope everybody's having a good start to the week. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by Coach Bob Shipley, former high school coach around the state of Texas, very successful, also an assistant on multiple college coaching staffs, father of Jordan and Jackson Shipley, who both, I think, still hold records at the University of Texas. Coach, welcome in, and let's talk a little Longhorn football. You ready for it?
Man, I am ready. It's always
Texas
fun.
Texas beats Vanderbilt 34-31. And I want to get some of your views on this game for folks. First of all, the changes that Sark made on offense really seemed to ignite Arch Manning and the offense. What did you see, and what were your thoughts about the moves that Sark made?
Well, I think if last Saturday was any indication, it was a really good move. I think it was obvious. I think Arch was comfortable back there. And another little thing he did was he didn't take many snaps from under center at all. And I just think it's so much easier on a center just to flick his wrist, and then he can immediately, post up a defensive lineman. But when he's got to snap it under with the quarterback under, he's got to make sure that quarterback secures the ball before he can fire off. And so it's I think it's easier for the center and the shotgun. I know it is. And because you flick your wrist, and at the same time you're punching with your other hand, and you can't do that when you're snapping, or you'll to the quarterback under center, or you'll leave it short as you're trying to post up the guy that is lined up on you or shaded on you. But I thought the moves worked out brilliantly.
Yeah. Well, this is the question then. You're mentioning that right now about the center. Obviously, I mentioned Arch had a whale of a day, 25 of 33, 300 and change, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. What did you think of the move of the offensive line in general? Because frankly, it seemed like for the first time all year, he had time to pass.
He did.
Then we get to see what he can actually do.
Yeah, I think no sacks. Is that right?
Yeah, no sacks.
Yeah,
only 5 or 6 hurries. I mean,
he wasn't getting hit, obviously, like he's been getting hit, which is, I'm sure the Manning family loved to see that. But I just thought the whole way that Texas came in and approached this game offensively was spot on.
Yep. What was it? Going to the perimeter with Ryan Wingo right out of the gate, Parker Livingston, DeAndre. I mean, all of them caught like little screens to the outside. Is that what you saw, or was it something else that you felt like they really tapped into?
Yeah, for sure. In fact, while I was doing the live stream in the second quarter, we already had 9 receivers that had catch it. 9 different players catch passes from Arch. What I loved about Sark's game plan was he went back to his old self. He was innovative. He was creative. He was aggressive. I wouldn't necessarily call it all gas, but they certainly had a little more sense of urgency than they've had in the past, which we begged them to do, because when you go back and track it, it's successful. And then those quick passes outside, and obviously the very first pass of the game to Wingo, what a great job blocking the perimeter by the receivers. And I knew right then there was going to be a good game, because when those receivers are blocking, and we didn't know if Arch was going to have time the rest of the game or not. We weren't, because it was one play. We didn't know for sure out. But the way it started with our receivers tuned in, blocking, a great run by Wingo to shake off tackle and go the distance. I just thought his game plan for the first half and most of the third quarter was brilliant. And it fit remember, that's what we kept saying. It's just something's not fitting right with this offense. And we just still hadn't figured out who we are. And it seems like with the movement on the offensive line and Arch back healthy and looking great and playing with confidence, it just seemed to be, it feels like he's starting to figure out this offense and what we can do well.
Most complete offensive performance of the year against a big school, right? In your opinion?
No doubt. No doubt. Top 10 school. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. All right. We're going to talk a little bit more about the defense, because I know you want to get into that. We'll talk a little officiating here in a minute. But first, let's tell you about the person you need to know if you're moving to, from, or within the Austin area. That is Laura Baker, Austin real estate professional. Reach out to her, 512-784-0505, 512-784-0505. Purchasing a home could be the largest decision you ever make, financial decision that is. make sure you reach out to Laura at andyallenteam.com. That's Laura at andyallenteam.com, 512-784-0505. Hey, Bob, the secondary and the breakdown in the fourth quarter, Vanderbilt scores 20-plus points consecutively. The secondary really seemed to be the primary culprit. What did you see there?
Yeah, there's no doubt the loss of Michael Taft was huge, and then Jelani McDonald was out a great deal of the game. So you lose your two safeties, and that's right where they were attacking us, it seemed like. And I guess maybe with those guys out, and especially Taft out, they softened up the coverage some, and they were giving them some underneath stuff. And that's okay. Keep everything in front of you. But when you can't make the tackle, then it's a problem. And that's what I saw with this secondary. They weren't tackling very well at times. They were soft in their coverage. And there were just, time and time again, they just kept attacking the middle third of the field. And guys were just running square ends or whatever they wanted. And there's just huge gaps in our coverage. So I would think that I would like to think maybe that they kind of kept it more simple without Tapp and Jelani McDonald in there, not to confuse those guys and throw too much at them. But it wasn't a good performance overall by the secondary. And it was and again, I'd have to go back and study it more to see exactly what we were doing differently. But I'm sure it has everything to do with Michael Tapp and for a good deal of the game, Jelani McDonald being out.
Yeah, a question for you on this. You turned 65 on Saturday. Happy birthday from all of us here and everybody out there. Did you have a chance for a heart attack there at the very end of that game?
I didn't. I still was confident, and I watched the way that Livingston smothered that other onside kick, and I thought, we're going to be fine. And then he missed it. And yeah, I don't know. I still felt confident. I don't know. It's a crazy feeling. I never panicked during that. I might have had they had got the ball, but yeah, it was a much closer game than it should have been or needed to be. And that's the only complaint I have about Arch, is coming in there in the fourth quarter when they're making their rally and we start shutting everything down and playing very, very conservative. And it just allowed them to get back in the ball game. That along with the loose coverage in our secondary.
Yeah. So you weren't really complaining about Arch as much as Sark and his play calling choices at that time?
No doubt. Yeah. And yes, Sark missed some passes. Arch missed some passes. There's no doubt about that. He missed some passes. But overall, what a great performance. And I just think you need to just stay loose, stay having fun. Don't start restricting yourself. Because we played into Vanderbilt's hand, I feel like, defensively when we did that.
Oh, interesting. So you wanted it to be at that point. You said, "Okay, let's have a drag race and get going, right?" As opposed to let's play in a phone booth. And Sark did start going to the run much more to kind of milk the clock. And Vanderbilt ended up making a game of it of sorts. Although I want to say this is the second consecutive year Texas has had a double-digit lead heading into the last minute of the game, and Vanderbilt scores a touchdown to cut it to 3. So it's not it's very similar to how last year's game ended, at least. Vanderbilt trying to make a comeback and Texas holding on. But we'll talk about that. One of the reasons they were able to make that comeback, though, in my opinion, Bob, and I know this is it's rare to get to ask a coach about the officials and get a true response because, if you're coaching, you can't really say anything about the officiating. What did you think of the officiating, I guess, on Saturday? Positive, negative, anything you would have to say?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty poor. I don't know how the side judge could call a touchdown on that play. They reviewed, and it's true. The angle from the goal line was not on the pylons. It was hard to tell, but it looked like he was moving straight lateral to the goal line, and he didn't touch the pylon. And so I thought that was a very questionable call. I felt like it shouldn't have been called a touchdown on the field. They should have. It was way too close for that guy to be able to make that call. Yep. And that play was, however they called it on the field, is what was going to stand because it was that close.
Right.
thought the pass interference call was a pretty cheesy call. I felt like, and then of course you go back and watch the game and you look at the number of times they were holding blatantly holding Colin Simmons, and the refs were letting them play. And I wonder sometimes if they don't, if the secret code is, hey, just let them play. Just let them play. And anyway, so our guys are coached to do it a certain way, and I really think human nature of a football player tells you that I'm going to do whatever you'll let me get by with.
Yep.
And so if I'm grabbing a little jersey at the first of the game, you're not calling it. Guess what I'm doing the rest of the game? I'm going to grab jersey till you call it. And if you're smart enough, what the refs would tell me is if they see a defender trying to get away and he's being held back, then they'll call it. If you can't get an arm loose and act like you're trying to get away from that guy and his hands are on your jerseys, they're not going to call it most of the time, unless you just, obviously have your arm around him, which we did one time and got called and probably should have. But yeah, I'm not saying that was why the game was so close, but I just feel like if they'd have called it consistently throughout the entire game, the holdings especially, that it might not have been as close, but I can say that because I'm not a coach anymore.
Well, not only, and I want to add to this because you just brought up a big point. My biggest issue with the officiating on Saturday was actually a little different. It was when they called Texas for a false start instead of offsides or encroachment by Vanderbilt. But I would add this to your point. There were two standout aspects of this game to me. One was the offense clicking so well in the first three quarters. I mean, they really finally felt like, hey, we've got something here. This is what it's supposed to look like. Everybody's on time, in sync, in rhythm. And you've had all these questions going into it about Arch and his health. I mean, he only practiced, the first practice that he really practiced was Thursday, right? And so I felt that was a strength of the game. The other strength was the pass rush. I mean, Texas got to Vanderbilt 6 times. Colin Simmons kind of had a forced fumble as well. And Texas just it's interesting how as SEC play goes on, they seem to be getting to the quarterback more and more frequently.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Is that really one of the strengths of the team?
No doubt. Our defensive front and edge players are without a doubt the strength of our football team. The linebackers aren't bad, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think, we've all noticed the big elephant in the room that the coaches don't talk about very much, and that is Ant Hill is really good at coming off the edge and blitzing. He's really, really good at that. And I'm hoping we're going to start seeing that more and more. It's just really tough when you have that many great athletes on your front like Texas does. You never know what they're going to do. You never know where they're going to come from. And that manifested itself last Saturday. Those guys were really, again, the foundation and centerstone of our football team. And they kept us, they kept us with a 3 touchdown lead, 4 touch. Well, let's see. What was the most we were up by?
24.
Yeah. And I felt like they did their job. The guys behind them didn't hold up their end of the deal. And like I said, could have been coaching strategy. They could have been trying to keep it simple and just keep everything in front of you kind of stuff. I don't know. But I think overall the defensive front certainly played their hearts out.
Want to also give a hat tip to Ethan Burke. He had a great game as well. We didn't mention him yet, but certainly deserves the credit for what he did. Brad Spence, Colton Vozick was in on. We had Zeno Miazula. I mean, Lance Jackson played. They came after him, as well as the Murad Watson, Alex January, those guys up front too. All right, Coach, the last thing I want to talk to you about is something that Texas has to deal with this week, and that's the off week. You're 9 games into the season, 3/4 of the way done of the regular season, right? You've got Georgia in 2 weeks. Then you come back for Arkansas, followed by A&M the day after Thanksgiving. You've got a week off. What are you doing with the kids right now? What are they going through? What do you think Sark's got them doing?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of teaching this week. Let bodies heal. don't get anybody hurt, and lots of teaching, lots of film time, just lots of coaching on the field. When you're getting ready for a game, you've got to put in a game plan, and so you can't go back and correct mistakes and work on things, fundamentals that maybe you've kind of got rusted on or gotten away from a little bit, that you spend time on in the off season and maybe the first week of your fall camp. But I think, if it's anything like my 5 years on the 40 acres, it's a lot of teaching on the field, a lot of time in the film room, and just going back to some fundamental things that maybe we've gotten away from and hadn't been able to have the time to go back because we're trying to get in a game plan. And so I'm certain that middle of the week they'll start running, some Georgia stuff and start putting that game plan together and teaching that game plan to get them ready. But I think you just want the guys to heal. You want the guys to get their legs back under them. You want them to be good and fresh going into the week next week. And so I don't know. You were telling me about
the Arizona. This is what Arizona State apparently is doing. They have an off week this week. He's not even asking the kids to show up to practice until next week, like until Sunday. I mean, it's totally different. I don't think Sark is that loosey-goosey with his
I've never met anybody that was. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play next week. I don't think either one of us know who they're playing the next week, but it better not be a big team, or he's going to have some questions to answer if they go out there and don't show up on the game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, I ask because Texas is 7-2, and everything they want from the season is still on the table. And so these last 3.5, 4 weeks now are going to be for all the marbles, essentially. I think they have to win out to go to the playoffs. Some people think they might be able to get in at 9-3, but I don't like leaving things to chance. And they've got 2 of the top 5 teams in America in Georgia and Texas A&M among that group, right? So I feel like this is a time where they have to buckle down, figure it out. At the same time, to your point, Jelani McDonald needs to get healthy. Ryan Wingo's got a thumb, needs to get healthy. More time for a guy like Michael Taft to recover from his hand surgery. So get healthy and then focus on Georgia and try to get into a game plan that maybe gives Kirby Smart and his guys some issues. But I guess we'll have to wait and see what they come up with. All right, Coach, we will be rejoined next week by Brian Irwin. He's been on vacation the last couple of weeks. He'll be joining us next week. But you will be joining us tomorrow morning on Texas Football's Coffee and Football. And tonight you're on with Rod Babers and CJ Vogel. I know you enjoy that with those guys, so look forward to seeing it. Once again, thank you to our sponsor. That is Laura Baker, Austin real estate professional. If you're moving to, from, or within the Austin area and think you need help, there is no one better than Laura Baker. Make sure you reach out to her. She will walk you through the process. Tremendous realtor, tremendous person, and great Longhorn. 512-784-0505. That's 512-784-0505. All right, Coach. We'll see you again later tonight and then tomorrow morning, buddy.
Okay, sounds good. Hook 'em, man.
Hook 'em, buddy.